Hey guys, what's up? It's Uncle Zunky, and welcome to a new video. So in this video, I decided to check out the new game mode, Darkscape. And a lot of you did want me to check out this game mode because, for one, it is completely free, which is awesome. You can play Darkscape without paying any money. However, if you log onto it with a member's account, then you do get an XP bonus. I believe you get 50% more XP, so it's a lot faster to level up. So I did start a Darkscape account, and I checked it out for a while, and in this video I'll show you what I did for the first, 10 hours of gameplay or so on Darkscape, and also I'll talk about a lot of the pros and cons. There's a lot of great stuff about it, there's a lot of not so great stuff about Darkscape, and we'll go over both, and I'll let you guys know a recommendation whether you should try Darkscape or not. So the first thing that I found out just a few seconds after exiting the character creation screen is if you attack someone within a town that has guards, these guards are very high level 138, and they all have chaotic weapons, and they will attack you if you have a skull over your head. Every single time after attacking a player, you have a skull over your head for 5 minutes, so these guards will destroy you if you are a low level. I haven't seen very many high levels in these towns, but I'm sure if you were, around level 120 plus, you could probably tank the guards for a little bit and maybe still get away with killing people. But also in a lot of the free-to-play area towns, at least, there is a level range. So, for example, here at Lumbridge, it's 3, so only people within 3 combat levels of your own can attack you, so you can't have higher level players just come up to you and end your life that easily. So that would definitely come across as a positive to me, that it's not just a slaughter fest for newer players when they first start up Darkscape, because yes, the game is extremely ruthless, but you probably want to get your footing before you really get into that part of the game. And I personally think that the idea, at least, we'll talk a little bit about how this actually works in practice, but the idea of being able to PK everywhere does seem pretty cool to me, at least. I think it's awesome that you're able to go to your quest or slayer task or whatever you're going to do and then see someone you don't like along the way and you can just drop them for most of their items. That is awesome. Also, the game is locked to legacy only, and I personally see this as a good thing. I love abilities, and yeah, the game is not going to be as skill-based without abilities, but this is the way that most people remember the game, and I think the best thing about legacy is it keeps the focus that this game is about PvP. It's not about doing bosses or doing slayer tasks, and you can do that stuff in Darkscape if you like, but the primary focus should be running around finding people to kill and killing them. And Legacy Mode promotes that because this is the way most of us remember doing PvP back in the day. This is the way most of us are familiar with, most of us know and love, because let's admit, player versus player was much more popular before the evolution of combat came out compared to what it is now in the current RS3 game. So I do see this as a positive. Yeah, there's not as much skill involved for killing other people or any kind of combat at all, really, but this is probably the right decision of game mode if you had to lock it to one style or another. And also, players that are really good with abilities aren't going to have an advantage over players that don't really know what they're doing. The final pro that I think really stands out with Darkscape is there are 3 different economies in the game, and all of them are brand new economies as well. For the low risk area, there's a grand exchange, and there's also a grand exchange in the medium and the high risk. And these 3 grand exchanges do not interact with each other directly, so you can't sell stuff in the low level area and have someone buy it in the high level area, and you actually have to run between areas if you want to bring stuff from the low level bank to the high level bank, at the risk of dying and losing the stuff that you're trying to transport. Especially if you're carrying a lot of coins with you and you want to buy stuff in the higher level area, this can be really dangerous and adds a lot of tension to the game. I think this is great, and also just the fact of having multiple economies, maybe items will be worth more in the higher level economies than the lower level economies. I think that's just a really interesting dynamic, and it remains to be seen exactly how that's going to be played out, but it is a very original idea, and I'm a huge fan of that. And now it's time to get into some of the cons of Darkscape. The cons, there's really not that many of them, but they are a significant problem, and most of the cons are just getting started. I have heard and seen that the PvP in high levels is actually quite good, and people will use armor and decent weapons and actually risk a little bit once you get into the high levels, but getting to those higher levels is the problem. When you're trying to train stats, or when you're trying to kill monsters such as Chaos Druids was the main thing that I had a lot of problem with, you will see a lot of people running around with one item, typically an adamant 2H sword with 1 defense and 40 attack and strength, and they can kill you in 1 to 2 hits typically, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do about it, and there's not much that you can do to defend yourself against this other than trying to find a training spot that's relatively uninhabited. So if you do try to get your footing in this game, it's difficult to do. You'll be killed a ton by a lot of one-itemers, and this can be extremely frustrating just to get started in the game and try to get your combat stats up so you can make some money, get some gear where you can defend yourself, and you'll die a lot in the process, most likely, unless you find a decent training spot that is relatively unknown about. Unfortunately, melee 2H swords are just really easy to get and the stats for and also obtain, and then it's super easy to kill people at low HP because they do so much damage that you can't really out-eat the damage that you're taking from melee 2H swords with the food that you can use at low HP levels, and you'll just kind of get dropped a lot when you're trying to start out in the game. So if you have the patience to get past all of this cheese at low level PvP encounters, it might eventually get to the point where you're able to defend yourself and fight back and make some money to buy some decent gear, but getting a foothold in this game is definitely frustrating. Come to think of it, the only other major complaint I have about Darkscape, other than the really imbalanced low-level PvP, is the fact that your run energy regenerates very slowly. It's like old school RS, so maybe energy potions will have a nice use in this economy, and maybe they'll hold a decent value. Remains to be seen, I guess, but it's a pain in the neck to run everywhere, so that's something you just gotta get used to. Most monsters are aggressive again, so AFK combat training, yay! Running low on run energy, while monsters are wailing on you running through a dungeon, not yay. So that just really depends situationally whether that's a good or a bad thing, but there's pros and cons to it, and also since the game is supposed to be really brutal and aggressive, it makes sense that most of the monsters will try to attack you while running past. Anyway, that's most of what I got for Darkscape. I'll recommend it if you are a person with a lot of patience and don't mind dying a lot, and like the idea of having PvP everywhere. If you're not into those kind of things, if they don't sound interesting to you, you'll probably hate it. Also, if you want to see more Darkscape, let me know. I may or may not continue this account, I haven't decided, but if a vast majority of you guys would like to see this continued, I'd be down for that. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Farewell.